Have a seat.
Thank you. I'm just, I just want to show you the instruments that I made.
Okay.
Because I am planning to pilot them in, I don't know, today probably or tomorrow in order to have something for this Friday. But actually,
okay, because we need to have your results. You need to apply. The thing is, the data collection process begins on Monday. So you need to, if you're going to do a pilot, I would just try to do it like today and try to have the pilot done today and then apply the questionnaire so that you can try to get the results by Friday for all of the teachers that you plan to apply your instrument to. And so that you can choose. The goal here is to know who your participants are going to be by this Friday. So that on Monday.
Who? Well, I already know that. They're going to be from the school where I am working.
Well, but you need to apply the questionnaire to determine the participants.
Yes, so to other students. You told me something like that.
You need to apply the questionnaire to teachers, and then based on the results of the questionnaire, choose the teachers, right, that you're going to interview, or that you're going to participate in the.
I don't know. I'm lost.
Okay. I think we talked about applying a questionnaire to X amount of teachers, and based on the results of the questionnaire, choose the one or two or three teachers for your study so that you have a rationale, you have a reason for choosing those teachers.
Okay. That questionnaire must be like, I don't know, questions related, obviously related to my topic, but and like what type of questions? Because I don't have that. I have some questionnaires, but they are to students.
Okay. Well, how were you planning on? Yeah, I think.
Because I was planning to make an interview to teachers. Like
that's fine, but I think I think that we talked about was that you need to have a reason why you chose the teachers. Right? Okay. One of the things you need to explain when you give your your talk, your defense, your oral defense, is that you need to be able to say or give reasons why you chose these teachers. And it needs to be systematic. It can't be, I work with these teachers, so I applied, I did my research with them. It needs to be, I chose these two teachers because these two teachers do, they do a certain thing. There's something unique about them. There's a reason why you chose these two teachers, even if it's from the same school. If you have, 5 teachers from the school, you chose these two teachers because they are unique or different, or there's something that you want to research that relates to your research questions that are different or unique than the rest of the teachers.
Okay.
And one way to do that is to apply a questionnaire.
Okay, that is the first step.
And so that's the first step. That's something that you need to do right away.
Yes, actually,
so
I
that
can
you
do
can
it today.
You can get that information and say, okay, I chose these two teachers because of these reasons. They answered a certain way.
How many questions in that question?
Well, it doesn't. There's not really a set number of questions. It just depends on what questions you ask. But I'm thinking one sheet, one questionnaire that's on a single sheet of paper. I've seen questions from 7 to 8, 9 questions. It just depends. They're typically open questions where they have to explain how or why or when, and based on that, you should have some information there that will help you to determine which teachers would be the best.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea here is to apply that as soon as you can so you can choose the participants. Now we can look at your questionnaire for the students if you want.
These two, one is an observation sheet and the other is like a questionnaire, something like that. Where students, first of all here, they are going to, that is like my observation sheet, I'm going to be observing them. Yes, and since I want to see their like their participation and their
Okay, so
reaction. Probably.
did we talk about? Did I give you a format for the observation sheet that we talked like last week, like
No.
a suggestion? Did we talk? What did we talk about last week?
No, actually, I couldn't come. I didn't come the last.
Okay. All right. What did we talk about the last? Do you remember what we talked
The
about?
last one, the last class, sorry, session. We were talking about this, about the type of instruments that I will plan
Okay.
to.
Did you check out the recording of your tutoring session, your last tutoring session?
My recording, I have it in my cell phone.
Okay.
It's because I don't really understand that thing.
Okay. All right. But you have the recording
Uh-huh.
and you listen to it.
Yes. Well.
Okay. Just listen to it again, I think,
Uh-huh.
and see what we talked about. The observation sheet, your research questions are pertaining to authentic materials and uh, what else?
Oh well. As I was saying, for example, in this case, I tried to like to measure, we can say, how the authentic material works on the students. For example, if they feel motivated, well, if they show like motivation, if they are engaged into the activity, if they enjoy, if they.
All right, so this is an observation sheet, right? So
Uh-huh.
this is where you're going to be actually going into the classroom and observing. All right, let me just review your research questions here. All right, so you have questions related to how does the use of authentic material using TV series encourage students to become more active speakers? And how authentic material increases students' interest? Um, all right, so you're focusing on speaking, correct? So the second question needs to be something related to speaking. I would rather in your research questions that you focus something on about a technique, a teaching technique using video, speaking, language,
Yes, I have.
but in your research question. But you don't have that in your research question. I'm saying try to include that in your research question, some sort of technique. Because on the second question, you're just mentioning learn a second language. You're not even narrowing it down to a particular skill. So I think we need to narrow this down to a specific skill. In this case, speaking. Right? That's what you want to focus on is speaking. Is that? Yeah. So, and how does this encourage students? Again, we have to be able to know how we're going to collect the data and analyze when you say encourage, right? So if you change that question to focus more on a teaching technique, that's something that you can measure, something that the teacher does in class.
Because, for example, well, the class or the tutoring session you gave me in that time, you told me that question was correct and that I didn't have it.
Right, but looking at your instruments here, I mean, encourage. So how does the teacher encourage the students? Okay.
To speak.
Right. Just say teacher. What does the teacher encourage the students to speak in English using video? See what I mean?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Instead of how does the TV series encourage? Because an object can't encourage, right? Anything. A teacher can encourage.
Okay.
And in the second question, just be more specific instead of learning a language, which is really broad, narrow it down to speaking.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, here in the observations, you have to reflect on what you can observe. So, what I'm recommending everyone to do for the observation sheets is to have a heading and write out time, activity, and description. And so basically, it's just it's field notes. You're taking notes. And you're observing the time. So let's say that the teacher begins some sort of activity at 8:05. So you write out 8:05. And you call this activity whatever you want. You classify it as something. And then you describe. The description is where you're just writing whatever you see, whatever you observe. What does the teacher say? What do the students say? What does the teacher do? What does the teacher what does the teacher do, the behavior that the teacher does, and what do the students do? And so you're writing this out. And when this one activity finishes, maybe it concludes at 8:20. Then you write down 8:20. You write the beginning, the start time, and the end time.
Mm-hmm.
When a new activity begins, then you have time, activity, and description, and you do the same thing. And you continue this way throughout your field notes. You just keep writing it out. And so the actual instrument itself will only consist of the heading in this first instance here. I would leave the rest blank because you're not going to know how much space you're going to need to write out or whatever. Or if you do it on a computer, the same. You don't.
Okay.
So this is what I would include for your observation sheet. Something very basic, but you're essentially writing out things. Now you're not going to be writing out saying the students are paying attention because you can't observe that. You can say the students are maintaining eye contact with the teacher, or some students in the back are looking out the window. Some of the students in the front have their head down. So just be careful with what you observe and don't try to analyze anything. Just observe. Write down whatever that you have. And you're going to be recording your sessions also. The classes are going to be recorded. So the idea is that you take your field notes with the recording, and with the two, you can analyze that information. Okay? All right, so that's what I would do for the observation sheets. Now, what other...
Well, so this one, it doesn't work.
No.
Question. Well, that is not, I don't know what is that. I think that's like a questionnaire or something like that.
The purpose of this questionnaire is to assess the value of the above teaching materials in this class, not to assess.
That is more about like how students reacted probably when the teacher was using.
All right. So the questionnaire, you will need a questionnaire for choosing the teachers, but after that you won't need another question.
So.
Right. So unless, are you planning on applying this before?
About the teachers?
Yeah.
No. Yes, before.
¿Cómo vas a...?
This one, it will be during the class because I want to be in the class where the teacher is giving the class with authentic material. So when he or she is giving the class, I'm going to be checking this regarding the students, if they are boring or... but not like in... Obviously, I can't like observe all of them because we have like 10 students each class. So probably I'm going to choose, or I'm going to select specific students.
All right, I think I'm confused. So, all right, so we have we need to create. So let's make a list here. So the first thing we need to do is create a questionnaire
For students.
for the teachers.
Sorry, for the teachers, yeah.
So you have a questionnaire for the teachers, and that questionnaire is going to be used to select the teachers. Okay. Number 2, we have our observation sheet. This will be our observation sheet, just a field notes. You taking notes about what you observe. Okay, so observation. Number 3. Now, number 3, you're probably going to have some interviews. So you need an interview guide. Okay, so you'll need an interview guide for the teachers or teachers that you're going to be observing. So the interview guide needs to consist of your research questions. Needs to be key questions that you want to ask pertaining to what you saw. So maybe you saw something really interesting, and you in your field notes you write down, you made some notes, and after you finish your observation, you say, I need to ask questions about this because I want to know more about it. So in the interview guide, you're going to create a list of the key questions and ideas that you want to include in your interview about specifically what you observed. It's not open questions. It's not so much questions that maybe you included in the questionnaire. It's very specific to your research questions and what you observed.
Okay.
Now, the students, you need to decide if you want to have either questionnaire or interviews with the students
I think
about.
a questionnaire. It would be better. I think.
Why?
Because, for example, sometimes we as teachers can speak for a long time with them. I mean, just in class.
Uh-huh.
But I cannot have the interview in class because they are in class, right? So probably sometimes they are outside, but I need to get into the other class, so they are outside. They're just losing their time, so I can take advantage of that time and ask them to answer the questionnaire. It's because I have one class next to the other. I don't have like a free time, right? So if I am planning to I don't know, to make an interview or something, I'm sure that I don't have the time. that.
Okay. So first of all, you're not including your students, right?
No.
Okay,
No.
so you're including the
Other
teachers. So one of the questions that you're going to need in your questionnaire, the very last question, you should ask the teacher if they're willing to participate. Okay, and let them know what type of that you're going to be doing observations, interviews, whatever you plan to do to collect the data. You need to ask them if they are okay with doing that. The questions here are pertaining to encouraging students to become active speakers. So you need to, if you want to apply a questionnaire, it needs to be a questionnaire applied to all students. And you said like around 10 students, so it's not...
Around 10.
So you have a questionnaire for the students, and then based on the questionnaire, I would schedule maybe 2 or 3 students, depending on the results from the questionnaire, some interviews to get a little bit more information, because the questionnaire, depending on, I need to look at the questionnaire and see, but you may need to have you may get some interesting responses from the questionnaire that you need to find a little bit more information about. So you don't have to interview all the students, but maybe 2 to 3 interviews with the students, because that's really the kind of the key part of your question here.
For example, the questionnaire as well as the interview are going to be related to, for example, their opinion about the material, authentic material.
Yeah, you're going to be asking questions about their interest. Does this interest you? Do you have more confidence speaking using this? Why is that? Have you used this before? How is this different than I see?
Okay.
And then so between the questionnaire and the interviews, you need to try to get that information as much as you can. So I think these would be the data sources here. The original questionnaire, you're only going to use the results of the participants. So let's say if you apply to 5 teachers and you choose 2, you're only going to use the results from those
From
two.
those two.
The rest of it you're not going to use. Then the observations, the interview guide, questionnaire for the students, and the interview for the students.
Okay.
So when can I see all of those? Here's the thing. This week, by Friday, you need to update your method section, 500 words, and add your instruments at the end of your document in Google Drive.
Mm-hmm. For example, the interviews and those things, do I need to upload them too?
Yes, the interviews will be an interview guide. So you're going to have an interview guide for the teacher and one for the student. And this is just key questions, just general, information that you might ask them. Okay. And I uploaded a video and announcements in Canvas explaining what we need to be doing today.
I'm in shock.
Yes. Right? So I would look at that video so you're not lost.
Today. I don't know. I'm saying, yeah, today.
I don't know.
And
If you want me to look at something, before Friday, feel free to come by my office or schedule time. Be more than happy to look at this. Or you can send it to me in Canvas. Some of you are sending like attachments in Canvas, and I'm giving feedback in Canvas. Some of you are coming to my office. Doesn't matter. Whatever is easier.
Today or tomorrow. I will do it. So I have 5 things to do. Yes, 5 things, right? The questionnaire,
yeah, but a lot of these are really brief. Like the observation sheet, I see.
Mm-hmm. For
The
example,
question-
in this case, yes, because I really need to observe a group, right? And I'm going to upload
I think
the
so, yeah,
results.
to see how they're using a certain type of, because you're very specific here, series. So in your questionnaire, you're going to have to ask questions. Do you use TV series? How do you use TV series in your class? Da, da, da. And so you'll need to observe a class where they're actually using it. And so then, yeah. So,
And then this interview guide is like related to the.
now the interview guide, just come up with some questions that you think you will ask, that you think will come up in your observations. After you observe, you're going to want to go back and look at your guide and maybe change it a little bit. And that's fine too. But this is just so that I see that you have kind of an idea about what types of questions, because what you don't want to ask in the interview guide are questions like, do you always use video or TV series in your class? It's not so much what they always do. It's about what they did in that moment that you observed. So how
did you see students? I don't know, like how was the students' reaction during the class?
Well, yeah, or you could say, you could ask, because you're gonna be there with them, right? So you have to ask questions that
are related.
Yeah, you could say, how did you plan for using this video yesterday? I saw that you used the TV series, and how did you plan? Why did you choose that video for this class? And then you can say, well, I noticed that the students did this, responded this way to that one video. Was that something that you planned for? Was that expected? Was that a surprise? Does that happen? Has it happened in the past or not? But it's all, you can talk about their past experiences, but always in relation to what you observed. When the students responded a certain way, did you expect that or not? That type of thing. Was there anything that you changed during the lesson that you didn't plan for? That's the idea. But it's all about what you observed, because you want to complement the interview process or the information that you get from that with your field notes, with the recording. Right? So you're triangulating the information. So teacher perspective, what does teacher say? What did you observe? And from your recording, what did you analyze and interpret? And you try to bring that information in to better understand that one thing that you're observing. In this case, video, using a TV series for speaking, because you're only focusing on speaking. You might, in your observation sheet, indicate how long a speaking activity lasted, and if they were interacting. You don't know if they were on task necessarily or not, but you can see if they're interacting, or if they're not, if they're looking out the window. Maybe they go outside the class, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. And so these instruments, it looks like a lot, but it's really not. It's just the interview guides are just a few questions because you still want to include space for notes because you're going to be taking kind of jotting down notes. And so the student questionnaire probably will take you the longest, and maybe the teacher questionnaire depending. I think you can use some of the information you have here, but I would focus more on open questions because you really don't have that many participants. So focus less on closed questions and more on open. Focus more on open questions than on closed. Like most of the ones I saw were closed, like Likert scale, and try to have open questions.
So for this Friday is all of this and
the method section. And if you want me to look at something before Friday or Friday, before you upload to Google Drive, that's fine. But if you send it to me in an email, if it's on Friday, I'd rather you come by my office so we can just sit down and I can discuss it and be quicker because Friday sometimes I may not get it back in time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so let me work on that. And if I have any question, I can do it.
Okay. And once you select your participants, go ahead and start scheduling for next Monday, the next 3 weeks. All right, so you take advantage of these three. We've got about 3.5 weeks to collect our data, and start off by scheduling the time with the teacher, saying, okay, I'd like to observe these days, or find out when they're going to be using video, and try to schedule as best you can, so that you don't waste any time collecting the data. Because after Holy Week, that'll be it for data collection.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, Mike.
Actually, I need this.
Or a picture. Or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
you can take a picture. I wrote this on my conference program. And if you have any questions too, don't forget to update your literature review if you have questions or we need to discuss anything about the feedback that I'm providing. Let me know. We can talk about those.